fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration, the Monday edition. I was on with Ron Speakman yesterday on Fed Up. If y'all listen to Fed Up, his podcast, and it took 5.5 hours. We were on there for 5.5 hours yesterday. And so I was bushed, man, but I thought that he was going to put it up on his yesterday, and I was just going to pirate it. I was going to use that as my episode, but it lasted 5.5 hours. We covered everything that you could cover. He had a lot of questions for me, and he said it's going to take him about a week or two to get that thing edited and put up. So when it comes out, I'll make sure that I put it up on From 8 Arbitration as well so that y'all can hear that. We covered a lot of topics. So, but yeah, so that's why I didn't have one yesterday. He had messaged last night and told me that it was going to be put up in about a week, and I was like, oh, shit. I didn't have anything ready. So I came in today, scrapped together a few things so that I can make an episode. I still think you'll enjoy it. What I'm going to do is cover some discipline. I'm going to cover an email, and then I'm going to let you hear a closing argument that I have recorded. It's on the deems desirable. I'll put the site up as in front of Arbitrator August, where they put a carrier up on deems. And I think JB did the episode about it way back when, about the deems desirable, the case he put together, went to arbitration on it. We won that. And so I'll put that closing argument up for you. And some people like that stuff. Maybe boring to some, but this is called scrapping together an episode so that I can have something put out. So, we'll look forward to Ron Speakman's episodes coming out, and I'll definitely put those up on From 8 Arbitration when they do. CCA Corner. That thing is taking off like crazy. So y'all make sure that y'all listen to those. Get your CCAs involved with that. Make sure they start listening to CCA Corner. Mallory and Cole and Badmouth Morris, they do a fantastic job with that. And so it's exactly what I wanted when I thought about that. A year ago, I was talking about CCAs need to stand up together. This union, this administration has abandoned them. You see that with this TA. It's a complete joke. It's a disgrace to them, and so I think they need to unite, and this is part of that. This is part of them doing that, CCA Corner, educating CCAs, getting them to stand up together, fight together. And I hope that y'all will get your CCAs involved with that, CCA Corner. Discord and Reddit, make sure that y'all are getting on there. Those things are really growing like crazy. I think Reddit's up to almost 8,000 members now. And so get on Reddit, get on Discord. They're constantly on there talking, constantly on there educating. And so I think y'all really enjoy that, both of those things. Make sure that you're getting on concernlettercarriers.com and ordering your merchandise. They got a lot of cool stuff on there. That's something we're going to need. We're going to need a lot of money. And I'm not one to talk about donating or contributing or anything like that, but it's just the cold hard facts. It is what it is. You're going to need to raise money to win an election, and we're going to have to raise a lot of money. And so concernlettercarriers.com, and make sure you buy your merchandise. They have some cool looking stuff on there, and So get on there and get that merchandise, buy that stuff, and that way you can look cool when you walk around. And so also from 8arbitration.com, get on there and buy those shirts. And now all that goes to MDA. That doesn't go towards the election, helping the CLC. That all goes towards the MDA, all right? And so I am so tired right now. I am loopy, man. I keep yawning. All that stuff will be edited out, but I keep yawning, just getting pissed at myself because I keep yawning while I'm trying to talk. And so I am bushed, man. I'm telling you. I worked today. It was colder than son of a bitch out there. And so yeah, I'm just waiting to go to bed. I was like, man, let me get in here and do an episode real quick, so that I can have something put out there. But I'm going to edit out about 100 y'all. About 100 yawns, man, because I am silly tired. So anyway, I'm going to cover a few things that people have sent me. I got some shout outs I'm going to do, and then there's some other stuff. I got an email I want to read to you, and then there's some discipline I'm going to go over, and then I'm going to put up this deems desirable, the closing argument, okay, where we had an arbitration. So here's the shout outs that I got. It says, can you give a shout out to NAP's president, Ivan Butts, for knowing how to represent his members, unlike Renfro? They sound like a joke, but they seem to deliver better than our current NALC administration. They got offered 1.7% and countered 4.7%. If you can mention this in the pod, maybe it will motivate some more people to want more and vote no. And so there you go. There's the shout out to the NAP's president, Ivan Butts, for knowing how to do more for his members than Renfro, our president, does. And that's a fact. Renfro is horrible. He's a disgrace. To get that 1.3% and think you've done something historic is a joke. It tells you what kind of a joke this cat is as our president. To think that he's going to come in front of us after sitting here talking for a year that he's getting us something historic and ends up with 1.3%. So there's a shout out to NAP's president, Ivan Butts, for kicking Renfro's butt. Pony Boy, he was at some kind of function. Somebody was asking about, supervisors getting such a large increase, such a large pay increase. And he said that the reason that happened is there's a lot less amount of them than there are city carriers. So they were able to get more because there's less amount of them. So they will feed us any kind of shit to justify this old bullshit that they came up with. There's a lot less managers and supervisors than city letter carriers, so they were able to get a lot more money. So if you're broke, you're fucking broke. Right? If you're going to say you lost $7 billion, well, management lost $7 billion too then, didn't they? The city letter carriers didn't lose $7 billion. I would think everybody lost $7 billion. So if we can't get 1.3%, why are they getting 4.7%? If we're broke, if I'm broke, they're broke. But they just punked us out on this contract. And you got our president in bed with DeJoy. And so, but to me, if we're broke, we're all broke. Everybody's broke. You're not going to make them rich and say, well, there's a lot less of them. No, motherfucker, we're broke. So if I'm broke, your ass is broke too. And that's what Renfro should have said when he went in there. He should have said, hang on just a second. We say 1.3? Yeah. Well, did you give them 4.7? Yeah. Well, then we ain't broke. Yeah. Y'all ain't going to eat steak, bitch, and I'm going to sit here in the soup line. And so we got punked out again, though. Renfro don't have a fucking clue what's going on. Here's another one. I'm shouting out to Chris Kelly, former NALC Branch 459 Merge Vice President and former shop steward, Raleigh, North Carolina, who was the best shop steward that ever advocated on my behalf when management relentlessly attacked and harassed me. We need you, Chris, to be our superhero again. And so there's another shout out for you. And I love that. I love anybody that says, hey, give a shout out to somebody who was my superhuman or my superhero. And I love that shit because there's a lot of them out there that don't get recognized, that do that shit behind the scenes that y'all never see, that work put in at home that they'll never tell y'all about because they care and because they love you. And it's the most thankless job there is the shop steward. And I will always say that. Any kind of union really position, advocates, another thankless job, you'll spend hundreds of hours getting ready for a case and nobody will ever say thank you for that. But it's not about that. It's not about the thanks. It's not about the recognition. It's about the passion you have for the city letter carrier. And that's what it's always about, and that's what it will always be about. I'm reading this thing that came out from management. And it's talking about safety. That's their big push, right? Another big push is attendance. somebody sent me something saying that their manager told them that the district manager said they want everybody disciplined that's had 3 occurrences in a year. You know, normally they'll say 3 occurrences in 3 months, which there's no set amount of occurrences. So if management says, yeah, the amount is 3 and a quarter, no such thing. They're making that up. There's no such thing as any amount in any period of time. And so, but this person sent this out, and here's what it says, and I talked about this a little bit on Ron Speakman's podcast yesterday. It says, Happy New Year, team. We have identified several distracted driving incidents recently which serves as a critical reminder of the importance of staying focused on safety at all times. These infractions emphasizes the need for us to prioritize safe practices both individually and collectively. Distracted driving is not just a personal risk. It affects everyone on the road. As a team, we must recognize the role we each play in cultivating a safety-first culture. These incidents highlights the importance of 1. Accountability, being vigilant and responsible for our actions, especially while driving. 2. Awareness, recognizing the potential consequences of distracted behavior and making conscious efforts to avoid it. 3. Commitment, actively supporting a culture where safety is non-negotiable. We need to continue to take the necessary steps to reinforce this commitment, including additional training and awareness campaigns. Let's work together to ensure safety remains a top priority for everyone. Appreciate your attention and dedication to making our workplace and community safer. Now listen what this dumb bitch says here. For seatbelt and rollaway runaways, previous safety infraction plus another safety infraction, removal. I'll repeat that. Now here's somebody who is probably an ops or an upper management who has no concept of the Joint Contract Administration Manual or Article 16 or Section 115 of the M39 Handbook, because they say some dumb shit like this. A previous safety infraction, in other words, if I've got a previous safety infraction, plus another safety infraction, so that's 2 safety infractions, removal. So they're telling them to remove us if we have 2 safety infractions. If there's no previous safety infraction, plus current safety infraction, 14-day suspension. Distracted driving will be based on severity and history. So here's some dumb fucker saying no previous safety infraction. So I'm out there doing my job and they drive up on me. They follow me for about an hour. Don't tell me that they're following me. And they finally catch me doing something I shouldn't be doing, which you're going to do. If you follow me long enough, you're going to eventually catch me doing something I probably shouldn't be doing, because I do this every single day of the year, 8 hours a day, if not longer. So if you follow me long enough, yeah, you're going to catch me doing something. So they're saying that if I have no prior safety infractions, we're not going to do a official discussion. We're not going to be progressive rather than punitive, as the contract states in the very first sentence of Article 16. And the very first sentence of Section 115 of the M39 Handbook. We're not going to be progressive. You know, to be corrective, you must be progressive. And so you cannot be punitive. But this dumbass says, for the first infraction, we want a 14-day suspension. And that's what we're dealing with. They hate us, and we do not hate them enough. And that's the problem. We have very weak leadership right now. That's the reason these things come out, because they know that our president is asleep at the wheel right now. And our executive vice president is a dumbass. And so with that, you see things like this because there's no retribution on our behalf. There's no reckoning on our behalf. So what's going to happen here, and here's what's going to happen to a lot of people, a lot of stations, and this is when they try to oversell things, they're going to issue you a 14-day suspension. In local management, they're going to get into the informal meeting and they're going to say, hey, look, I know that's too much, 14-day. We'll reduce that to a 7-day. You're going to have some shop steward that's going to talk to some carrier, and they're going to say, hey, they're willing to reduce that 14-day to a 7-day, and they're going to take it. They're going to take it. They're going to sell that 14-day for a 7-day, and we will buy it. Never do that. Don't ever do that. Their requirement is to be progressive with us. They have to be corrective. They cannot be punitive. That entire email right there is punitive. You cannot be punitive with me when you deal with discipline. It's a mandate. It's not a suggestion. Arbitrator Cohen talked about that. You don't have the option. There's no discretion. You have to be corrective, and that means you have to be progressive. And so do not let them sell that 14-day for a 7-day because you're scared. There is no DRT in the country. Well, I'm going to take that back. We have some DRTs that are fucking horrible. But there's not an arbitrator in the country that's going to justify skipping 3 steps, official discussion, letter of warning, 7-day, ending up with a 14-day over a single safety infraction. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But that's what we're up against, because they will weaponize everything against us. And I talked about that yesterday with Mr. Speakman. They will weaponize everything against us and then will pimp us out like they did Barner on the cease and desist. When they had him running around telling everybody, we're not going to do cease and desist anymore. Put in that language, that bitch-ass language, shall comply, will comply. We're not going to do cease and desist anymore. That happened. Lloyd going around with his Barner on a leash talking about we're not going to do cease and desist. When people say, why are you not going to do cease and desist? Because y'all weaponize it. And then you have shit like this. You have shit like that 16.7 going on around the country that headquarters put down. We want people off the clock. That's weaponizing 16.7. You got this right here. They're weaponizing Article 16 when they say, give them a 14-day on a single occurrence. On the first occurrence, a 14-day. They've weaponized the hour office time when they came out with those metrics, how the amount of bullying that came out of that. They're weaponizing that. They've weaponized these M documents, 1982, 83, 84, where they talk about these parameters rather than standards, where these district managers sent out emails saying these are the new standards. 22-minute load time, 3 minutes per parcel. Those are new standards. They weaponized that even though those things were not correct. So they weaponize things against us all the time, just like this new attendance policy they came out with. 3 occurrences in a year, discipline. 3 occurrences in a year, discipline. They're weaponizing that against us. But what do they say about us and the cease and desist? We're no longer going to do cease and desist because y'all are weaponizing that. We're too fucking stupid and cowardly to see what's happening to us. To me, if you say you're weaponizing the cease and desist, I'm going to tell you to go fuck off. And I'm going to give you those examples of what y'all are doing to weaponize every single thing that you can against the city letter carrier. You're weaponizing everything. But no more cease and desist because y'all are weaponizing that, and we bought it. Barner bought that hook, line, and sinker. He's a cowardly son of a bitch. He is a cowardly son of a bitch, man. The only one more cowardly than him is our president. And that's a fact. That's a fact. Both of them together don't make a good man. Barner and Renfro, put them together. They both put together don't make a good man. And that's the cold hard facts of it. That's the cold hard facts. Here's some discipline somebody sent me. And it's about stationary events, okay? And I'm going to read it to you. We're going to talk a little bit about it because this is going on like crazy everywhere. Improper conduct. Now that's the charge. Improper conduct. So that you're going to say my conduct is improper. That's what that means. It's that simple. Improper conduct. So what you're going to prove is that my conduct is improper. This is going to be a hard sell for them. Pay attention. The Postal Service utilizes GPS. Now, they're copying these things straight off of that memo, straight off of that stand-up talk. I've already read one of these to you. The stand-up talk, they copy and paste the top of that and put it on this discipline because they're all the same. This is their template that they're using nationwide. The Postal Service utilizes GPS technology for multiple purposes. It offers real-time updates for customers and provides hazard and amber alerts for delivery employees. It also allows for real-time two-way communication between management and the letter carrier. The system continually identifies the letter carrier locations and records periods of inactivity by indicating instances where multiple breadcrumb pings are occurring at the same location. So it records periods of inactivity. Inactivity of what? And that's a question we need to ask. Inactivity of what? Inactivity of the scanner. Well, the scanner don't do anything. It doesn't deliver. It's never taken a step. So it's always inactive. We're the ones moving, right? So if they're saying that we're inactive, they have to prove that. And by saying that the scanner is not moving does not prove that I'm inactive. It just proves that the scanner is not moving. Managers also benefit from this technology as it allows them to track the location of every employee using a scanner, which assists them with supervising delivery and performance expectations. And we've talked about, I beat this to death, which assists them with supervising delivery. And where does it talk about supervising me on the street? Section 134 of the M39 handbook. Now, your president has allowed this to happen. He's allowed this to happen, right? He's let them weaponize this against us because he wanted that so bad in the TRAP memos for them to be able to track us, saying that this is the greatest thing that's ever happened is them being able to track us on this stuff because it shows them what we do every day. It shows them how hard we work every day. You're never going to show them how hard we work every day. You're never going to show them that. You're not going to show management how hard we work because they hate us. They can't stand us. And so to say it shows them how hard you see what you did now? You see what you've done now by allowing that to happen and telling me it's an inconvenience? Do you see what you've done? Because you don't understand the workroom floor? This is what you did by saying that it shows them how hard we work. You're fucking stupid. But anyway, which assists them with supervising delivery. That's a violation of me of Section 134 of the M39 handbook because it tells you how you're going to supervise me on the street. You're going to accompany me on the street. You're not going to sit at your desk and watch me. Right? Upon thorough examination of all applicable data, because the step 4, it states what? GPS data can't be the sole determinant for discipline, right? GPS data, isn't that what it says? It's M1458. M1458 says GPS data cannot be the sole determinant for discipline. Okay? And so they're saying upon thorough examination of all applicable data, we're going to request all applicable data. All right? Including an investigatory interview, which is a moot point. It's a guise. It's a ruse. Now, this was just something they needed to get through to give us discipline, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. The following infractions have been identified. Street break number 1 at this location for 13 minutes. This break was extended by 3 minutes. When questioned during the II about this break extension, you stated that as far as you know, you were working, and they can never prove you weren't. They cannot. If they think that the only time we're working is putting mail in a box, they're sorely mistaken. If they think the only time we're working is when we're walking on a walking route, they're sorely mistaken. If they think that's the only time we work, they're sorely mistaken. So they're going to have to prove that I was not working. And a scanner will never do that. A scanner will never prove that I'm not working. The scanner is not working because it's not moving. It doesn't do anything. It stays there. Street break number 2. At this location, 12 minutes. This break was extended by 2 minutes. When questioned during the II about this break extension, you again stated that you were working, and they cannot prove I wasn't. And that's what I'm asking them. Prove that they weren't working. And they're going to say what? These breadcrumbs, this GPS data. It proves you weren't working. Where's the 4584 at? Where's the street observation form where you went out there and proved that I'm not working? Well, we didn't do that. So you can't prove I wasn't working. You can just prove that that scanner wasn't moving, which does not mean I'm not working. Street break number 3, 14 minutes. This break was considered your third break, and therefore it was unauthorized. When questioned during the II about this unauthorized break, you again stated that you were working. They cannot prove I wasn't. Street break number 4, 10 minutes. This break, while not expanded, was your fourth break, and therefore it was unauthorized. When questioned during the II about this unauthorized break, you stated this one was probably an official break. Street break number 5. At approximately this time, it was 10 minutes. This break, while not expanded, was your fifth break, and therefore it was unauthorized. When questioned during the II about this unauthorized break, you stated, I don't even know where that's at. It's invalid or something. So they rung them up on that one. They say, I don't even know where that's at. That's why I'm saying it's a moot point. It's a ruse. It's a guise. It's just something they have to do to get to your discipline. You're going to get discipline. This is proof positive. You're saying, I don't even know where that's at. I don't even know what that is. Well, we're going to get you for it anyway. Street break number 6, 11 minutes. This break was considered your sixth break, and therefore it was unauthorized. When questioned during the II about this unauthorized break, you stated, I cannot because I don't know where that street is. So they're getting some bad data from somewhere. That's the reason we don't go by GPS data. It's inexact. Street break number 7, 11 minutes. This break was considered your seventh break and therefore is unauthorized. When questioned during the II about this unauthorized break, you stated, no, as far as I'm concerned, I was working, which is a perfect answer because you can't prove that I wasn't. An investigative interview was conducted with you and your union representative present on December 23rd. When I asked you if you're aware that employees are expected to discharge their assigned duties conscientiously and effectively, you said yes, and they cannot prove I wasn't. They cannot prove that I wasn't discharging my duties conscientiously and effectively. They can't prove it. When I asked you if you're aware that you're required to follow your supervisor's instructions, you said yes. Additionally, you were present on October 8th for service talks related to authorized lunch and break locations, as well as expansion, extra breaks, and the requirement to carry your scanner during delivery. On November 27th, now here we go. Here's the killer. Here's the discipline killer right here. On November 27th, 2024, I held a private discussion with you regarding the expansion of lunches and breaks. Yet on December 18th, you took 7 breaks totaling 81 minutes. Now, they're including the 2 that they said, that's not even a street I have. I have no idea what you're talking about. They still included those in the 7, right? So you're going to win it on that by itself because it wasn't an objective investigation. You have to be thorough and objective. So if it's to be objective and you say, I have no idea what that is, you can't charge me with that. Or you're going to have to explain it to me. They didn't. It's a formality. We got to get rid of this investigative interview so I can hand you this discipline that I've already typed up for you. But here's the killer. On November 27th, I held a private discussion with you. In accordance with Article 16.2, you cannot cite an official discussion as an adverse action. You cannot cite it on discipline. And that will kill that discipline, okay? So that would be my first contention. Management has cited an official discussion in accordance with 16.2 on this discipline, and it'll kill it. I would get a statement from this carrier saying, on November 27th, when you met with management, what happened? Well, they told me that they was giving me an official discussion regarding the expansion of lunches and breaks. Wasn't an official discussion? That's what they told me. Get a good statement from them that you were given an official discussion on November 27th. Make sure that's in the file, because they will come back later once they realize they fucked up, because this is labor writing this form. You got some rookie in labor, it's probably what's happened here, who doesn't understand the contract, who's trying to support discipline by saying, hey, we've already put you on notice through an official discussion, and yet you did it the very next day, not realizing that they've killed their own discipline, right? And so it's because of their over-eagerness, they will always fuck shit up because they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. And so 16.2 would be my first contention, that management has cited an official discussion in this disciplinary notice, and in accordance with 16.2, this will be a due process violation. They've poisoned the well of this discipline, is what we would say in arbitration. Management has poisoned the well of this discipline by including an official discussion in the disciplinary notice. Okay? And then they've got, on December 18th, you failed to follow management's instructions that you're only authorized 2 breaks and you're not to exceed 10 minutes each. While you stated that you were working, I find this answer does not mitigate your requirement to take breaks for only the authorized times. And I would ask them to prove it again. Prove that they weren't working, and they're going to hand you the GPS data. Furthermore, I find your answers do not mitigate your requirement to conduct yourself properly. Now, you're going to have to ask them how I was not conducting myself properly, because you don't know what I was doing. You have no idea what I was doing. As such, your conduct was improper. They can never prove that. They can never prove that I was doing anything improper out there. They just can't, because they didn't go out there. In accordance with Section 134 of the M39 Handbook, you have to go out there to observe me if you have substantial evidence of me loitering. And that's exactly what it says in 134. If you have substantial evidence of me loitering, if you're going to say in this discipline that you have all this applicable data, if you have substantial evidence of me loitering, then you must still go out to the street and observe me. They're circumventing Section 134 of the M39 with this discipline. And that's all it is, and that's the contention I would make, is that management's circumventing their requirement under Section 134 of the M39 Handbook. If they have substantial evidence of me loitering, which is what they're saying, right? They're saying that my conduct is improper. So obviously I'm doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing. So they're obligated then to go out there and watch me. They're never going to do that because they're too fucking lazy. They're too busy in there eating a box of donuts to get out there, get their fat ass out there and watch us on the street. This discipline is a circumvention of 134 of the M39 Handbook, and that's all there is. Okay? That's all there is to it. But you will beat that on the fact that they cited a 16.2 discussion. You'll beat that discipline. And also where they cited you for 7 instances, and 2 of them you said, I have no idea what you're talking about. So there you go. There's your discipline. That's still going after us on these stationary events. Keep sending them to me, and I'll keep talking about them, all right? And we'll beat it just based on the charge itself, and that's what we just did there. We beat it based solely off the charge. All right, let's end with this deems desirable closing, all right? Now, this is Arbitrator August. We're in front of her, and it's C35201. It's back in the Deems episode, but I'll still send this to Mallory. She can put it up for you. But this is the closing argument on that case. It was a very good case for us. JB did the case, and we were just tying it up here at the end with this closing argument. I think it's 30-something minutes, I believe. And we also had an Article 17 and 31 violation, and you hear us talk about that in this closing argument. But that will be the episode for this week, all right? Just threw that together about an hour ago. And so you had some shout-outs. some recognition. You got Discord and Reddit. Make sure we get on there. And this discipline, and also the email from the dumbass that talks about giving us a 14-day on the first occurrence. And we will always win that just based solely on the first sentence of Article 16 and the first sentence of Section 115 of the M39 Handbook. And they will always have somebody who has no concept of the contract that will tell them to do things, and then they bitch about why they lose so much. It's because you have idiots giving you direction that have no concept of the JCAM. And so there you have it. That's the episode for this week. I'll be back Sunday. Maybe Ron will have his ready by Sunday, and I'll put that up as mine. If not, we'll get into something else. How's that sound? All right. Y'all have a fantastic week. Sorry, I'm so tired and very sleepy. If y'all saw the amount of yawns that I'm going to be editing out of this thing, because I am bushed. But wanted to get an episode out anyway. All right, so I love every one of you. Here's the closing argument for the deems desirable. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to y'all next Sunday. All right, bye. And he challenged the issue, saying that the issue should only be 1 and 2 of the issue. Madam Arbitrator, they have to try to exclude 3 and 4. Because you exclude 4 of the 1731 violation, that wipes out basically the entire case as far as the non-compliance. The Article 15, as far as the deems desirable, them violating those past settlements. That's the reason they only want it to be the first 2. I don't blame them for that, except it's made it all the way from the informal, formal, and B team with that requested issue. So that's the reason they want to exclude the 3rd and 4th issues, because of those reasons, and I'll get into those in just a second. The issue statement on page 20, I want to go over that again, Madam Arbitrator. You have in the first one, did management violate Article 10 and 19 of the National Agreement via Section 5 of the Employee Labor Manual when they denied Jonathan Kuzma a request for 8 hours of sick leave and arbitrarily inputted leave without pay? If so, what is the appropriate remedy? How is that not violated? Here you have Mr. Kuzma been given leave without pay on the 10th. He didn't even make it back to work, and they gave him leave without pay. That's what Mr. Leith is talking about. He was given leave without pay on the 10th. He hadn't even made it back to work to fill out a leave slip. And he still got leave without pay to this day. There's nothing in the case file, nothing in all these pages that shows Mr. Kuzma was ever told to bring in documentation. Nothing. Mr. Vaccarella said he didn't know that it was an app. He called. It was an app. He got on his computer, and it says, you will be required to explain your absence, not to bring in documentation. They want to talk about a 3971 that says documentation not provided. He never received that 3971 back. It wasn't even signed. And let me ask you this. Why would you need to falsify documentation to support your position if your position was so strong? Why would you need to falsify documentation? On page 48 is a leave slip. That's falsified. They falsified a leave slip to support their position. Why would Mr. Kuzma turn in a leave slip for the 13th asking for FMLA sick leave, and then on the 21st sign a leave slip agreeing to leave without pay, and then turn around and file agreements for leave without pay? That makes no sense. He testified he did not sign that. He signed the one on the 13th. Why would you need to falsify a 3971 if his attendance is so bad? You saw those earns key indicator reports. where they're saying they gave him an II. I thought that was kind of funny when Mr. Vaccarella said, yeah, that means that they gave him an II on that date. And then when you show him that he was sick, well, it don't necessarily mean he was given an II on that date. That's funny how witnesses do that when they're caught being untruthful. But why would you need to falsify an ERMS key indicator? That makes no sense to me. If this gentleman's attendance was so bad that he warranted being put on deems, why would you need to falsify documentation to do it? So the first issue, it was arbitrary because you put him on there the day he called in. He was given no chance to bring in documentation, and he was never told to bring in documentation for the 10. There's nothing in the case file that shows that that happened. That's what Mr. Leith is talking about, arbitrarily inputted. Because you could put it in the very day he called in. He was given leave without pay. The supervisor testified that I changed it after he got back. Those were her exact words. I changed it after he got back. And then I showed it to her. She had no explanation for it. She didn't know. The issue number 2. Did management violate Article 10 and 19 of the National Agreement via Section 513 of the ELM when they arbitrarily, capriciously, and unreasonably placed letter carrier Jonathan Kuzma on deems desirable without any notice? If so, what is the appropriate remedy? Again, there's nothing in the case file showing that Mr. Kuzma was ever told that he was being put on deems desirable. There's no 39, there's no attendance review. In a year, there's no attendance review. In a year, there's no official discussion about his attendance. In a year, he's never been addressed through discipline. Well, how is it possible for us to show a record of abuse that exists when there's no record of abuse? That's what we would look for. If he's been given an official discussion on this day, if he's been given an attendance review on this day, he's got discipline because of a attendance. Those are the things that we would combat. You've not done a thing in a year to make him aware that his attendance isn't acceptable. That's what Mr. Leith is talking about. When he's talking about this is, they put deems on the entire station or groups of people, that's what he's talking about. There was no reason to put Mr. Kuzma on deems desirable. They're talking about these patterns of calling in on a scheduled day off, around scheduled day off. He's got 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, that he can call in that are not around a scheduled day off. 2 days. So from now on, Mr. Kuzma, if you, by chance, if you can be sick on Tuesday and Wednesday, that would be great. That would help your case, okay? Because management says that you're showing a pattern of holidays and around your scheduled day off. So be mindful of that. Just be sick on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's how asinine that sounds. He's called in showing a pattern of before and after holiday, 3 holidays. That's not necessarily a pattern. I think that what Mr. Leith is saying, that they did groups of carriers, I believe that's where this was at. Unfortunately, we couldn't prove that because management refused to give us the information. And the sites I gave you, Madam Arbitrator, there's one from you that deals with this very thing. Starts on page 5. And this is what the union said. In order to ensure that the deemed desirable options and ERMS is appropriately utilized by management, the following agreed upon provisions shall apply. The deemed desirable option should not be activated for any extended period of time, but should normally remain active for each specific absence. Activation of the deemed desirable option and ERMS should not be in lieu of placement on the restricted sick leave list. Deemed desirable do not allow policy to request documentation for all instances of intermittent leave. Deemed desirable is for specific absences on a case-by-case basis. The above guidelines can be found in guidance and instruction issued by the Postal Service in July 2010. And then this is what you state. page 12. This is what you state. The language of the ELM and JCAM would be in line with the interpretation of the Postal Headquarters representative who provided clarification to the DRT and case number followed. Cited in the instant case, as well as in line with the guidance and instruction issued by the Postal Service in July 2010. Document cited by management and arbitrator holds of aforementioned case. As a result of the clarification by Postal Service Headquarters and arbitrator Holden's inclusion of the guidance and instruction from the Postal Service, the DRT concluded that management at the Toledo Post Office was inappropriate using the deemed desirable option in earnest to place a blanket restriction on employees, including the grievant, for extended periods of time. The DRT found this was a violation of the national agreement and ordered management to cease and desist use of the deemed desirable option in earnest as a blanket policy. On page 67 of the case file, Madam Arbitrator, Mr. Leaf went over that. Is the exact same thing, is the exact thing that you're talking about. For an extended period of time. They put him on deems from 10-9 to 10-16. How is that not in violation of what we was just talking about? That's an extended period of time. He was put on deems for a week. For what? That's on page 67. I mean, that's in black and white. It's as plain as day. Deemed desirable documentation required, date from 10-9, date through 10-16. That's an extended period of time. That's what you're talking about in your decision. Again, the union cannot prove something that doesn't exist. I can't prove that he's got a horrendous record if there's nothing in the case file that shows he has a horrendous record. You've done nothing to curb this man's unacceptable attendance. But yet you want to come in here today and say he's got unacceptable attendance. Mr. Lee talked about it in his contentions. DLM, 511. What's it talking about? These are the things that you must do if you see that a carrier's attendance is unacceptable. They've done none of those things. But yet coming here today and he's got terrible attendance. How is that? You've not done the first thing to curb it. My burden is very easy. I've met my burden easily. What have you done to address this man's attendance? Nothing. The third issue. Did management violate Articles 15, Section 3A of the Postal Policy Letter 1517 V. Article 19.4 of the National Agreement by failing to comply with the grievance resolution settlements in the national installation? The problem with that one, Madam Arbitrator, is that we have to get the fourth issue to show the third issue. We have to show management did not give us the information that we requested. If they would have given us the information we requested, we could have proven the third issue. But you didn't. That's what he's talking about. You prohibited us from showing the third issue. And the third issue is a violation of the pre-arbitrations, page 52. Page 52 is the pre-arbitration agreement. That's what Mr. Leith wanted to show with the information that he requested. And then if you carry on and you go on, you got the next page, 53. Here's another pre-arbitration settlement stating the same thing. Has to be on a case-by-case basis. You give us the information we requested, we're going to show that it wasn't a case-by-case basis. We're going to show that it was a blanket policy for groups of carriers or all carriers. But since you didn't give us the information that we requested, you prohibited us from proving number 3. Now, if we prove number 3, the rest of this case goes away. The rest of this case is over with. Because you can't say it was a case-by-case basis. So Mr. Kuzma shouldn't have been on there. You prohibited us from number 3, which would have done away with number 1 and 2. You've got on 53 is another one. On page 56. Page 56 is a formal Step A resolution from Green Hills. If you don't mind turning to it, it talks about this very thing. And look at the remedy. Look at what was awarded. Did management violate Article 15 and 19 of the national agreement via Section 513 of the ELM when they arbitrarily, capriciously, and unreasonably placed the Green Hill Station on the deemed desirable? Did management violate Article 15, 17, and 31? The very same thing we're here today about, except they didn't give us the information again. The Formal A parties agreed management would be issued an additional cease and desist from arbitrarily placing groups, all carriers on the deemed desirable list, and instructed to abide by Section 513 of the ELM. And what's the bottom? The Formal A parties agree that management will be issued an additional cease and desist violating Article 1731. The very thing we're talking about here today. What about 58? Same thing. Green Hill Station. Deemed desirable list. How about page 60? The same thing. Green Hills. How about 62? If you want a B team decision. 62. Deemed desirable. I believe I see a pattern with Green Hills. I believe I see a pattern of the same issue with deemed desirable, and I see a pattern of the same issue with 17 and 31. You know how you keep me from meeting my burden on number 3? Just don't give me the information that I requested, and I'll keep you from meeting your burden. That's exactly what happened here today. The most important issue of this grievance is the 4th issue on page 20. Did management violate the National Installation of Green Hill Station violate Article 17, 31, 41, 15, Section 3A, and the Postal Service Policy Letter, Step 4M 1517? You're very well versed in that. Via Article 19 of the National Agreement by failing to comply with grievance resolutions instructing National Installation Management to cease and desist their continued violations of failing to provide the union with requested information. If so, what is the appropriate remedy? I agree with JB. I think that violation of 17 and 31 was intentional. There's not a doubt in my mind. Because if you would have given me the information, I would have proven that this wasn't a blanket, that this wasn't a case-by-case basis. I would have proven beyond a doubt that this was a blanket policy on groups of carriers. There's no doubt in my mind. That's the reason we did not receive the information that we requested. If you look at page 111, and I know you're tired of 111, 13, 14, but if you look at those, here you have a request for information from the shop steward on 111. She said she only got one thing out of that. So we didn't get the information we requested there. If you look at page 114, he tells Ms. Jones exactly what he needs. And then she comes back with the relevance. I need the relevance. Then Mr. Leith goes into great detail, which under Article 1731, we do not have to do. We only have to give a reasonable explanation. But he goes into great detail about what he needs and why he needs it. And then she comes back with, on page 113, number 2, report not provided due to relevance. When I asked her today, relevant to who? She said filing of the grievance. I said, but you're not filing the grievance. Mr. Leith's filing the grievance. Oh. I mean, Can you believe that? Here's the 1731 where you've got 100 cases in Nashville about 1731. She said, I didn't provide that because I didn't feel that it was relevant to your case. After the man just sat her and told her what the relevance was about. That's why you didn't give it to me, because you felt like it wasn't relevant. Then number 4 on page 113, she says, form does not exist. And then I showed her the form. How am I looking at a form that doesn't exist? Vaccarella the same way. You sent me the form for Mr. Kuzma, but yet it doesn't exist. That's odd. Number 5, form does not exist. Yet you sent Mr. Kuzma's to JB. That's strange. That you tell me a form doesn't exist, yet I'm looking at it in the file. That may be a first for me. But the most damning thing to management was Mr. Vaccarella when dealing with that. And this is what he stated. This is what he stated under cross. Now, this is what he stated under direct, matter of fact. He had contacted JB and asked what it was, and he explained what they were. And 2 had already been sent from Mr. Kuzma. That's what Mr. Vaccarella said, that Mr. Leith had explained to him what he needed, and that he had already gotten 2. And then Mr. Vaccarella said, I called Tamika to let her know what that was he requested. And we still didn't get it. Mr. Vaccarella said that. He called her and told her what it was that Mr. Leith needed. I said, well, why didn't he get it? I don't know. I sent it to her to give to him. That's what he said. I sent the information to her to give to him. Talking about Mr. Leith. And I still don't have that information today. I asked Mr. Vaccarella, why didn't you give it to him? Well, I gave it to her to give to him. Here I am at the formal Step A meeting. This is what we do. And I have an issue about 17 and 31. And then I'm bringing contentions with about 5 pages where you have violated that over and over and over again in the national installation. I have an email where I'm putting you on notice. Hey, look, I didn't get this, so I'm including a 17 and 31 argument in my contentions. He tells him that, as well as the leaders of the city. And what do? Nothing. Still, there's no information given to me. How is that possible? In the case file, he shows you this is what it is. If you don't know, which you do because we explained it, he shows you, here's what it is. It's in the case file right there. Page 67 and 68. That's what they gave him. That's it. Why did Mr. Vaccarella, knowing the history of this city, why did he not get up right there and say, hang on, I'll be right back. I'm fixing to get you what you requested. Why didn't that happen? Like I said in my opening, the only thing we got from management was excuses. But excuses doesn't help the union meet its burden. Information does that. And they intentionally withheld that information from us because they know that if they gave us that information, Mr. Leith would have shown a violation of those pre-arbs and those Formal A resolutions as far as the non-compliance on the deemed desirable. That's why I didn't get that information. 100%. I cannot think of a more egregious violation than the formal Step A saying, I called Tamika and told her exactly what it was he needed, and I still don't have it today. I can't think of a more egregious violation than that. Then he said, I sent the information to her to give to JB, and she didn't do it. You must still have that email that you sent, because at the formal Step A, why did you not get on that email you sent and say, hey, here's what I sent her to give to you. I apologize. Here it is right here. That didn't happen. Why not? When he says it's intentional, trust me, what they did was intentional. I've got decisions, Madam Arbitrator, that I sent you. I'm not going to read from them. They're from Arbitrator Willis when dealing with Lake Charles. It's the endless amount of violations. She goes over who's affected when those things aren't done, when the contract is violated over and over and over again. In my opening, Madam Arbitrator, I read from your decision from the last one here. It was the 1915 case, but it was the 17 and 31 was included in that. And you addressed the history. And I'm not going to read that because you wrote it. But you addressed the history, the incredible history in Nashville of noncompliance with 17 and 31. And here we are again. Here we are again with the same issue. On page 143, I'm almost done. On page 143, Madam Arbitrator, is a B-team decision. And this is what it says from 2018. And it deals with 17 and 31. This shows you the history. The DRT also determines this decision, this under the decision, will serve as an additional cease and desist, which means we're tired of this. It's been done before. It's an additional cease and desist to management and failing to comply with Articles 17 and 31 of the National Agreement as it relates to furnishing information requested by the union in the investigation of possible grievance, and future violations will result in monetary compensation to ensure compliance. Do you know what's so troubling about that decision, Madam Arbitrator? If you look on page 147, do you see who signed that? Mike Vaccarello, the formal Step A rep that sat right there and didn't give us the information. This man has already told the National Installation to cease and desist, or you're going to pay for it in the future. He, above anybody else, should know the importance of information. He, above anybody else. But he sat in that formal Step A meeting, saw the contentions we had, saw the issues that we raised, saw everything that we wanted, and you know what he did? Nothing. He didn't do a thing. He didn't provide one single piece of paper. But yet he's going to tell them, hey, that don't happen. There's going to be an escalated monetary award. And lastly, 211, it's a decision out of Nashville. It's Arbitrator Roberts. It's from way back when, 2014. And this was a route inspection case, and I did this case, and management did the same thing there as they did here. They didn't give us the information requested. And you know what he said? You can't make any argument now. You can't come to the hearing and make any argument about whether the union met its burden. You can't do that now, because you didn't give them the information to meet their burden. So the whole case is thrown out as far as management's concerned. I'm going to sustain the whole thing in its entirety. And that's what he says. On 219 of that, he says, however, the union claimed that certain information requests were never fulfilled, and according to the union's contention, the absence of such information directly impacted their ability to properly meet their required burden of proof in this matter. And to that end, I'm of the considered opinion that argument is well-founded. Amen. That's the same thing here. 221. Furthermore, the employer's failure to provide the union the information requested is clearly fatal to any and all other defenses offered by the service in this case. We agree with that, Madam Arbitrator. Anything they come in here and say today is moot because you refused to give us the information we requested to meet our burden. How can you come in here today and say that we didn't when you directly affected that? I want to touch on one thing on the remedy on page 20 and tell you where we got this from, if you don't mind, and then I'll be done. On page 20, you see the remedy we requested. On the third bullet point, at the bottom, for management of the future to abide by our previous grievance resolution settlements and to ensure future compliance with our carriage items could be awarded one-time lump sum payment of $75. That came directly off of the pre-arb on page 53. That's where we got that $75. So if you're wondering where that's an odd number, that's where we got that from. So just to educate you on that, that's where we came from. But one more thing. Ambush at formal step A. The most asinine contention I've ever seen in all the arbitrations that I've done. I think this is my 130th. I think that's the most asinine thing I've ever seen, to come in and say that you've been ambushed at formal step A. The one step you cannot be ambushed at is formal step A, because that is the time. You can take 5 days to get a case ready. You have the full opportunity to look at the contentions. You have full opportunity to address those contentions. You can put in whatever you want to put in and make phone calls. So how in the world that guy came in here and said he was ambushed at formal step A is a joke. But we want to ask that you sustain this grievance in its entirety, Madam Arbitrator, and we want you to grant the union's requested remedy, and I believe that, again, that's on page 20 and 21 of the case file. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anything further to come before the arbitrator?
Can you just tell me, when you went to the pre-arb, what page was that on? The last thing you said?
53.
I wrote it right, thank you. Sorry about that. That's fine, you have all the numbers in your head.
You were talking